Hey y'all, I'm CassB and welcome back to my channel. So this week I'm going to show you guys how to make a belt, the belt buckle that goes with it, in corresponding fabric to whatever project that you're working on. So let's get to it. Okay, so we're going to start off by me showing you our pattern pieces that we have today. So I've got these two pieces and this is what we're going to use to make our belt. So today I want to make a 2-inch by 48 inch belt. And so what I've done is I've marked 2 inches for the belt interfacing. So I'm going to use this really stiff interfacing that I got from Wall Walk Sewing. But we have 2 inches by 22 inches. And then down here I've made a note to mark where I'm going to cut it on the fold. So this is the belt interfacing. I'm going to cut basically a long 48 inch or 44 inch strip that's going to be slipped into this, again, long sheath rectangle that I'm going to cut out with this. So this is my belt actual pattern. So I've also made a note down here to cut on the fold. So this is actually 3 inches by 22 inches to be a total of 44 inches whenever it opens up. And I'm going to be cutting out 2 of these instead of just the one because I'm going to sew all of the outer edges together and then turn it right sides out. So that's what we're going to work with today. Okay, so I'm always thinking about fabric optimization whenever I'm cutting these pieces. So what I'm going to do is, now that I've laid my fabric out, I've just tested to see whether the fold line looks nice cross grain or if it makes sense to do it on grain, because that's how I'm going to be sewing the pieces together, but we're going to do it on the cross grain today. You see I've got the fold right here. I'm going to fold it up just once more, and then I'm going to pin this double fold together, and this is going to let me cut out both of these pieces really easy and quickly, instead of spending a whole bunch of time pinning them down twice and then cutting it out twice. Okay, so now at this point we're going to lay out our interfacing. I was just double checking that my pattern pieces, the belt interfacing is going to slide really nicely into this channel once I've got them sewn together. And you see I've got my 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, which is pretty standard. So that's what I'm going to be sewing and pressing this at. So let's go to the belt interfacing now. Okay, so let's talk about the type of interfacing that I'm going to be using for this. This is a fusible woven interfacing. I just ordered 2 yards of it and it comes about 44 inches wide, which is nice because that's how long our belt's going to be. So this is super stiff and it's fusible, so that's why I ordered it, but let's open it up. So today I'm just going to be laying it out on the fold. You can actually probably hear it. This is super stiff. And this is really good interfacing for belts, really stiff parts of pocketbooks if you're going to make stuff like that at home. This is generally too stiff to use for standard apparel unless you're just specifically trying to really heavily enforce it, as if it's something really runway or avant-garde that you want to translate very large. This does not work super well for small details. It's just really stiff for that. But again, belts, maybe if you wanted super stiff pocket flaps, and then of course like craft purses, like the bottom liner, so you can always use stuff like this for that. Okay, so just like we did for the other one, I'm going to lay out my pattern piece, and because this is so stiff, it doesn't really have to have pins through it. I'm just going to kind of mark it with my chalk. It's just a little bit faster. This is something that is listed on my Amazon shopping list. If you guys are like, what kind of chalk should I use? This is a good option. It just comes in like a 3-pack or a 4-pack. But this is listed on my Amazon shopping cart if you guys want to see the kind of chalk that I use. Okay, so at this stage we've got our 2 panels here. We've got a front panel and I guess you could say the underside of the belt, but we want them to look the same, so that's why the patterns are cut out the same. At this point we're going to lay down our interfacing on top. You can see it's got like kind of like a sticky side to it. and then you've got more of a matted side. The sticky side, it goes down. Okay, so one thing that you want to know about this is that it has this clear film to it. You're just going to want to peel that back. It's not actually sticky, but you can still feel that it's tacky. So you're going to remove that, and then you're going to use a lot of steam. Make sure your iron is nice and hot. So now that that film is removed, we're going to give it a good press. Again, just make sure that your iron is nice and hot. You just want to make sure not to get any of that under sticky side adhered to your iron, because that's going to gum up your projects. Okay, so at this point I've got it all pinned. So what I've done is I've kind of signified between here and here is the only sections in which I'm not going to stitch. I'm going to start here. I'm going to go all the way around. We're going to get to these corners. We're going to stop and we're going to pivot. We're going to pivot and we're going to go back all the way around the outer side, around the other corner, and we're going to finish right there again, so that when we turn it wrong side or like right side out, we just have a little channel right here that we can either hand sew or machine stitch down. So let's get to it. Okay, so what we're going to do for this is I'm going to show you a little trick to turning belts like this. If you press the seam open first and then turn it right side out, you'll find that everything lays a lot nicer. So I have this corner turner. This is from Wall Walk Sewing. It also has this really nice gauge on it as well, which is just helpful if you need a quick measure. But this is what I'm going to insert it in here to pop this out. You can see that because of the angle that it can get, because of the sharpness of it, it pops those corners out really nicely without poking a hole in our fabric. Okay, so now we're going to be moving on to the next step of making our belt. So what we're going to do is, now that we've got our belt itself actually covered in the fabric that's matching with it, we're going to cover the belt buckle itself. So I have purchased these belt buckle kits. So essentially the kit itself comes with your buckle, a little like metal prong that would actually go in through the holes if that's what you wanted to do, and a pattern itself. But I did not enjoy how thick the interfacing that they used was, so I'm actually going to use my own interfacing instead. So I've made my pattern piece, and so we're going to place this down onto our main fabric and the interfacing to cut them out. I'm using, let's see, this is a lightweight fusible interfacing, usually used for apparel. And the key word here is lightweight and fusible. Something like this is really good for collars, cuffs, pant pockets, necklines even. So any edges that you want reinforced, this is working really well for. So this is just non-woven, so ultimately if you kept pulling it, it would kind of piece apart. But you can tell that there's a sticky side and a non-sticky side. So I got this also from Wawak Sewing. Love this. There's a link in my bio as well. Go ahead and check them out, but we're gonna go ahead and cut out our pieces. So I'm gonna fold this on top of each other because I want 2 of these to be cut out. So I'm gonna go ahead and stick this down. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to place the interfacing on it, press it down, and then come around and cut out these pieces. Okay, so at this point we're going to take our finished pattern pieces and we're just trying to lay them on top of our belt buckle. You can see that everything is kind of falling into place. The goal is to take it and kind of wrap it around strategically. This is pretty cumbersome to do, so I really just kind of use a little bit of hot glue to help me out, keep it reinforced while I get it permanently in place with B7000 or E6000. They're pretty much the same. But you kind of got to finagle it, wrap it around and pull, wrap and pull, wrap and pull. So you're seeing already that it's, you know, difficult to do, but not impossible. So we're going to go ahead and get this attached and you'll see how it looks. Alright, so I finally got it all tucked in. Essentially all I did was just wrap the pieces around the front and the back. I used just a couple dabs of hot glue here and there so that it would immediately stay in place. The key to that though is as soon as you do like a little dot, you just want to kind of press in and press in because you want to keep that channel so that the back piece can still fit down into it. And if you find that the exterior looks kind of bumpy, all you have to do is hit on your iron and just hit these outer edges, tap the inner edges, tap, 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 and then you get this really clean finished look. So that in the back, we'll take our B7000, we'll put a little bit into these channels, and then we will take our backing piece, just fit it down into there. We're gonna weight it down. Okay, so at this point we have let this dry. This took maybe 4 to 6 hours for the B7000 to dry. You can also use E6000, both of which are fabric or craft glues. You can get it at Home Depot or Amazon, but I used B7000 because that's what Amazon has. But anyways, takes a couple hours to dry. I would give it at least 1 full day before you start trying to feed anything through it, but you're gonna take your belt, like that we worked on, feed it over that center part, feed it back through, and for this example, I'm just gonna hand sew it down as my finish. So all you're gonna see is me just kind of using my needle and thread, looping it back onto each other. Okay, so now that it's finished, I'm just gonna wrap it around my dress form. The client that I actually made this for is a little bit smaller in the waist than this particular dress form, but I'm just gonna show you this as an example. So I'm just kind of lining it up in the center, feeding it through, and the skirt that I had made to go with this has a belt loop on both sides, so this is actually long enough on her to feed all the way through and then be sat on the side. So I'm just gonna put a pin in there for now. Okay, and just like that, you guys have a really nice fabric covered belt buckle that's going to match with whatever project that you're working on. Okay, you guys, that is the end of the tutorial for today. I hope you found this video helpful and interesting. And as always, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see y'all next week.